and then I'll just minimize my picture. Okay?
That'll work. Okay. Whenever, oh, if you got to head somewhere, that's fine.
Just gonna get to a quieter place here, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be much better. All right, sorry about that. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
We ready to go?
Yeah, go ahead and take it away.
All right, great. Well, hello, everybody. My name is BC Clark, and I'm with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. And today we're going to talk a little bit about, I know that we've opened, but I know there are a lot of businesses that are having some issues. So I thought I'd kind of go back over some of the stuff that we talked about right after the pandemic. And so I just want to tell you that, you know what, this can work. We can make it work. It's just some things that we need to do. We need to do some adjusting. And so today I'm kind of walk through some of the things that I think might be important on this journey of really getting back to business and opening up. And, you know, we don't know if it'll ever be full capacity like it was. Maybe it may take a little longer, but you can get back to full capacity. But let's look at some of the things that I think might be important for us to, you know, just in getting going. And I just want to go over some of the stuff that we talked about, just making sure that everything was restored. All of your systems, everything in operations, everything has been restored to normal operations. And it's important to prepare for these type of events. And even though we had not been in a pandemic before, any kind of disaster, we have to always plan for so that it minimizes our negative impact to our business. So we want to make sure that we're always taking care of those things. The thing that I think is really, really important is that we know that if we have a plan, we can usually work that plan out so that we can get back into business as fast as we can, even though there may be some restrictions from our local and our federal government. But it allows us to be able to be ready when they give us the go to jump right in and go after and get started again. And so we talked a little bit about business resumption plan a few months ago and understanding that it is a documented set of procedures that will allow you to get back into business faster. And so I won't spend a whole lot of time with that, but it does aid the management team in identifying what those immediate necessary measures are that they need to have in order to bring the business or organization back up. And so we talked a little bit about that. I won't spend time on that. I want to really get into kind of the process of things. So making sure that the business owner is there to support all of the things that are needed at that time. You know, a lot of times when the business owner is not there, it does cause some issues, right? Because maybe your employees are making decisions based on what they think you might want, but you need to be there. So when we talk about business owner support, that's kind of what we're talking about. Making sure the policies and things that you put in place that you've established that the team is using those policies to get back to where you need to be. Making sure you've analyzed the business activities since you've been reopened, you know, determining what are some of the critical things that you still may need so that your business can survive. So, and they may be different than what you had written down. Because one thing that we do know is that with the pandemic, with this disaster, that things have changed. Some people are noticing that, you know, they don't need the same inventory that they had. Products have changed. Demand for these things have also changed. So I think that we have to make sure that we're doing analysis on the different things to make sure that we're able to get in and that we have everything in place. So just like before that disaster, when you had a plan, now after you reopen, you also need to look at everything and see, are there things that we need to do differently? I've been working with quite a few businesses, and yes, they are having to develop different things as they go along. A lot of things have changed. Demand has become less in some areas. Demand has become higher in things that they didn't have on their shelves. So now they're restocking to add those things. Sometimes that takes a little bit more money. So I think that when we talk about making it work after reopening, we have to kind of go back to brass tacks and see what are some of those key things that we did need to do to make sure that our customers and our stakeholders are aware of where we are and what we're doing. Keeping them informed is key to keeping them coming back to your business. So make sure you're keeping yourself safe. As you know, we have a variant out now, and people are getting sick. I'm not a political person, so I'm not going to speak on the vaccinations or anything like that. But keep yourself safe and informed. Okay. Make sure that you prepare and that the customers know what's happening with you, and make sure that you stay in touch with all of your customers, even if it's just sending something out on Facebook to say hey, or even just sending them something, because you have their information, sending them a personal note and saying, we're here, our business is open, we don't have the same hours that we had before, but we are here. And just make sure that you're keeping in touch, because that's going to be really important to you making it after being reopened. Do you realize that during our pandemic, 24% more businesses were started? All right. So if you're noticing that you don't have the foot traffic or the people coming in as you did before, there's just a number of things that could be, and it could be that people are now looking at different things. People are looking at maybe a healthier side if you're a restaurant, but everything has changed. So you want to assess the needs of your business right now. What is it that business needs right now? And you need to make note of those things. And also you want to assess, if you're in a service-based business, what services are you using right now? And are those services actually doing what you need them to do? Is there still a demand for those services? Let's face it, everything have changed. And a lot of the products that you may have been offering before, you may see them sitting on the shelf longer. So do I need to change some things? So let's make some assessments right now of your business to find out what it needs so that you can make it work after you've reopened. Everyone is having problems with labor. So that is an issue all by itself, and we'll speak a little bit more about that as we get further into this. But I want to tell you that, there are a lot of resources right now. So if you find it that you're kind of running short when it comes even to your financials and things like that, if you need additional help, we have resource agencies that are here to help. They want to see your business be successful. And in order for it to be successful, you need to have the information you need that'll give you revelation on how you can make this transformation so that you can get back to where you were with the expectations of your revenue coming in. You want to check out your inventory and your supplies. Look at your equipment. What do we need to do? So that assessment right now is like almost a validity check. Am I doing things to make sure that I can make it through this, whatever we're going through? And it's been going on a while, over a year, and it's still going on. So what do I need in place to make sure that I can get through to that next level of where I can see myself really making the revenue that I expected? Has your staff been affected by the pandemic? We know that there's a lot of businesses right now that are looking for employees. Everyone is hiring. And so do you need to hire additional employees? Are you looking at maybe having to bump up the wages just to get them in the door? Because a lot of them are going to those higher paying jobs now that the demand is so heavy. So you may have to look at some of those things. A lot of individuals have shortened their hours just so that they can make things work with the employees that they do have, and because they do have a shortage. And so we have to make some assessments right now in our business to find out what we need to do. We need to know what's needed in order to be successful going forward. So what are your chances for future success? And that's going to look at, we're really going to have to stop and analyze any potential demand for your business. Looking at that to make sure that, you're providing what the demand is for your business right now. And so that's what I think is really important. I know there's a lot of things that are going on, and people are saying, oh, I'm meeting with people every day, and I thought this would be really helpful, because they're saying, what do I need to do? Well, it's going to go back to you having to actually analyze and assess your business to find out what is it that you actually have to do. What is the demand for your business, and being able to provide that demand. That's how you're going to be able to make it after you've reopened and get it back, those numbers back that you're expecting. have your key customers and your suppliers been affected by the disaster? And then if so, that might be another thing that's impacting your reopening, your business or having people come back in. We are in a situation where we can't stop and just say, oh, I give up. We have to look and see what we need to do in order to make things happen and make them work for where we are right now. Um, a lot of times, some of the businesses that may be around you have closed. Is that also impacting your business because you don't have the foot traffic anymore? So making those assessments will allow you to decide what things you might need to do. And that's going to be really important. I know people are trying to act like things are back to normal, but they really aren't yet. But we don't have to be stuck either, right? So a couple things that maybe you haven't done, and hopefully you have, but looking at your insurance and making sure that you're completely covered. And when I say that, I mean even with lost wages and things like that, have your insurance company. You need to review everything that you have with that company. Are there things in there that allow for downtime? Like how much are you losing when you have to cut your hours? So maybe working with your insurance company to find out, are there some things I can add into this policy that would give me some additional revenue in the event that there are issues when I have to like close down because I don't have employees. So a lot of that stuff we need to look at and make sure that we have to kind of do the best of everything, get the best knowledge for all the stuff that we're doing and what we're seeing, making sure that we're staying on top of everything. And by doing your analysis and assessments, it'll allow you to be able to say, okay, here's where I'm deficient at. I need to maybe boost up my insurance so that I'm covered in the event that I have to shut down because I don't have employees, right? You want to make sure that you're contacting your staff and your key stakeholders to make sure that they can either work more hours or are letting them know that business isn't there, that they have to cut hours. I mean, just keep people informed so that they can make decisions as well. The other thing too is to make sure that you're including your customers and your suppliers, your lenders, your investors, all of them on what's happening in your business if it's not where it was before. So if you are not making as many sales that you did before, are you able to pay your monthly rent, your loan payments, and all of those things? Keeping those individuals and those businesses informed allows you to be able to, and them, to make arrangements in the event that you need to maybe pay interest only payments for a short time. So just keeping everybody informed. It is a trying time right now, but if we keep everybody informed, we can also make some decisions that can help us to get through the reopening and stay and survive. And that's going to be really key. And most of the businesses haven't reopened with the full staff, and a lot of the staff haven't come back for whatever reasons those are. So what do we need to do? Do we need to replan? Are we able to hire more people? Or do we have to, again, adjust our business so that we are still making money and that we can still survive? But those are decisions. Once we do our analysis and our assessments, we will be able to answer those questions and pull in someone that may be able to help you answer some of the questions that you're having trouble with. So some of the preliminary actions that we kind of looked at and we talked about actually not too long ago was to look at, if you have inventory that's not moving, at a pace that you need it to, maybe you could think of maybe reducing the pricing so that you can get that inventory to move. And if it's something that has been slow already, maybe you need to see if you can send that inventory and get maybe cash back for the inventory you've already purchased that's not moving. So those are options that you can look at to see what you need to do. Again, we have to stay focused on making sure that our business is running. And in order to do that, we also have to look at where we can cut costs. Because at this time, when you don't have your sales as high as they were before, cutting costs will be crucial to you making it work after you reopen. There may be orders that you may need to cancel due to low or no sales. And then just talking with those suppliers and letting them know that, I'm not able to do that right now, but, I'm going to see how things work out. keeping all those key components informed will allow you to be able to make better decisions, and you'll stay in good, I would say, in good relationship with them, because they need to know as well. If there's customer orders that have not come in because they're sitting on a dock, and that's happening right now. There's lots of things that are waiting in a can on the docks because they can't get in. And as you know, you've heard that Walmart is now sending trucks to get their stuff. Well, that's not the case in every situation. So if you are waiting on things, make sure that you're letting the customers know so that they're able to make decisions on their part as well. And that keeps that relationship open and going. Now, do you qualify for any financial assistance from the government? And if so, one of the ones that we know that is still available is the EIDL. That's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. It's still available until December 31st, 2021. If you haven't gotten that, or if you did and you only got a small amount and you think you need more, they're open to all of that. So you can go right to sba.gov/EIDL, and it's right there on the screen, and put in an application. That is going to be available to you until the end of the month, until the end of December, December 31st. So we need to use all the things that are available to us, all the resources. You want to check and see, even with some of maybe your friends who are in business, to see what kind of things that they're doing, if it's a similar business, or just going to getting additional education so you know what you need to do going forward. Because yes, it is that type of time that people are just, having a rough time with getting people in. The sales are down, and we have to make some decisions, but we can make it work by just making some different decisions and making some different choices. So right now, you should be looking at your current financial situation of the business. And if you've had to do any reconstructing of your financial records since you reopened the business due to, sales and whatever happened during the pandemic last year. In some cases, you might not be able to reconstruct all of your accounts, but if you have access to some of that historical data, statements, then you can probably kind of look at things and benchmark what you might need to do. And then kind of just determine how much cash does your business currently have available? And then what do we need to do to create, maybe a greater or larger cash flow? So all of that needs to happen. And we need to know those numbers so that we can understand where we are and what we need to do. Because if there's no cash flow, it's really hard to run your business. And you really need to understand that. So if you have an accountant, great. You want, make sure that you know what your cash flow is, making sure you're checking and making sure your bank accounts are, bills are coming through without any issues. And then also, have that, if you have an accountant, have them create a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement, from the beginning of that, of 20, which is when we had when the pandemic first hit, up until now, till the time that you reopen. And then, check for information and to see what things you might need to do. Do you need to add funds? And is there a place you can go? Do you need to, there's so many things that you may need to look at. I was just sitting with a business owner the other day, and quite frankly, they were probably in a state of flux because they're trying to figure out what they need to do so that the sales can go back up. They're noticed that, there's people are just not coming in. And when they do come in, it's not that there's large sales. And so you need to see, what do I need to do? Definitely cut costs. If you don't have people coming in the normal hours of business, look at the hours that you have the most traffic, and then cut those hours when there's no one coming in, because you're just losing money on labor, and you don't want to do that. So it's really important to understand what your financials are right now, and then make sure you stay on top of those. What things can you do outside of what you're doing right now that can better the situation that you're in and make it work while you're reopening? And that's going to be the key thing, and that's what's important. That's why these assessments are really important. Just looking at your business, working with someone else that you can sit with, even if you have to, SCORE, the Nebraska Business Development Center, Nebraska Enterprise Fund, they're all resources. You don't have to pay anything to go to them, and have them, help you assess and look at your numbers, your financials, look at, what you can do differently with marketing. All of this is available with no cost. So make sure you're using your resources right now to help you in all the areas that you need to help in. If you need to add addition of new product lines or removal of existing product lines, those are things you have to make a decision on. Are there new services that you can, look at and see, I'm not using these services right now. I may need to reduce these services, reduce your operating costs. Thank you so much. You may have to adopt some new technologies and processes. All of those things are things that you need to look at. If you're paying a lot of money for your merchant machines right now, but you really don't have sales coming in, you may have to, maybe stop that, stop using that particular one and maybe use something that's more like Square, or even people are using Cash App a little more now. So just, if you're a small company and you're finding that your finances are tight, we have to look at what things you might need to do differently when it comes to technologies and some of your processes. Hopefully that things are good. So if you're in a physical location, hopefully that location is good. But if it's not, and you've had a lot of businesses that have closed around you, you may have to look at relocating. And sometimes that's really hard, but let's do the assessment to see what we need to do. So I want to talk a little bit about sources of fundings, because even if you used your particular cash to reopen the business from your existing resources, now where do you stand? Do you have additional monies that are being reserved or in reserve? Or is it a point now where you're at, like, I may need to borrow money to kind of keep things on a level where I can survive until we get past this? And so you want to make sure that you're checking to see if there's any, there may be some type of consumer loans that you could get. Maybe there's grants out there, but you must seek to find whatever it is that you need to find to keep you going, right? You may need to speak to your bank and just kind of look at the plans that you have right now. That's why that business plan is going to be really, really important right now. It's because you may have to do some updating in that business plan to say what things you are doing maybe differently to bring revenue in. So when you go to the bank, they can say, okay, well, I see that you've done this, so this will bring additional revenue, and they can see that maybe you're eligible for some type of loan that they may have. There are some loans right now that up to maybe 10,000 or so, you may be able to get a low interest on it. So check out all the existing things that's available to you. Are there lines of credit that you can use if you're having that struggle with your finances right now? That becomes very important, and you can go into a bank and show them your historical data, show them what you've done before the pandemic, what you're doing now that you've reopened, just to see if there's funding that could be available to you, right? And so you want to, at this time, make sure that you keep your debt as low as you can. And so that's the reason why you want to make sure that you're doing cost, you're looking at everything and cutting costs wherever you need to. And then you may have to look, if you own your building and you have substantial collateral, what is there some of that stuff that maybe you can refinance so that you're paying lower payments on it? All of that can help you. But that's where that relationship with your banker comes in handy, okay? Or your relationship with your investor or whoever that might be. You want to go back and see what you can do to lower your costs until you get through the reopening and everything gets back to whatever normal it might be in 6 months. And I think that's really critical. And I just told the person, and they was like, I didn't think about that. Yes, we want to look at everything that we can reduce cost on, and then look at what things that we can't, but also what can we do to have that reserved cash in the event of us having to maybe get to that next level. And we may need to have that cash to do that. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'll answer them all at the end. We want to make sure that we look at our inventory. I call it do the recheck. If inventory or supplies that you have that need to be, any of that might need to be replaced with maybe different type of inventory, because maybe the one that you have is not moving, or maybe you have to remove some inventory, right? We need to really look at your historical data on your inventory to see what were or what are those things that have been slow moving in the past. And if they're still slow moving, you may look at removing that inventory from your list until you can get to a point where, okay, maybe this may come back around, but right now it isn't. And it's costing you money just sitting there. So either you can do something and put it on sale so you can get that cash from that slow moving stuff. And even though it may be reduced, it'll still bring you some cash in, okay? Because you've already spent money on that inventory. Some of the other things that when you're doing your assessment, what are the market conditions right now? And if those are such that they're impacting the buying patterns of your customers, what do you need to do? And this is going to be really key because we noticed that during the pandemic, a lot of buying patterns changed for our customers, right? People were just buying. Now they're a little more reserved and they're looking at things differently because they don't want to be in that position again if there is a disaster where financially they couldn't do something. They're just being a little more conservative in their spending. And you probably noticed that from your sales, maybe at least flatlining or either just going down a little bit. So we want to make sure that we're able to take care of that. Marketing becomes very important right now because if your hours have changed, you want to make sure that those are posted, that your clients know when you're open, the days that you're not open. Yes, it's marketing will be key right now. And not that you have to use a lot of money to do this. You can do it on social media. You can make sure that you're doing flyers and things so that people know, or even post them on your door to let people know when you're open. Because the worst thing is that they go a couple of times and you're not open and they think you shut the doors forever. So keep them informed on your hours and and this may be a time that you might want to do specials. Right now you want to move your services, you want to move your products, do specials, coupons, and everything you can do to get them in the business, get them in so they can, purchase or if it's a restaurant, whatever you need to do. This is the time that you want to add those additional services, the new products. You need to add those in to get people in to see what are they looking for, right? And there may be promotions that that the government is doing. Can't imagine what those might be, but what the thing is that word of mouth is great, but you have to do a little more than that, especially in these trying times when people are just uncertain about a lot of things. Okay. And so by doing this just keeps you on top of things, but it also keeps your customers and others aware of what's happening in your business. I've gone to several businesses and the doors are closed. There's nothing posted on the door to say we're working different hours, none of that. And that's really, it's when a customer doesn't know what's going on, they just stop coming. So you want to make sure that you're posting your hours on your buildings if you have a storefront, just making sure you're keeping them informed so that they know when you're there. All right, so and a lot of things, and we'll talk about this, but if you haven't, what you need to do is definitely is break-even analysis to determine whether the prices that you're charging right now are making the profit you want to achieve. And if it's not, then you need to kind of see what do I need to do and compare those prices if it's similar products with your competitors to see what range you need to be in. Because sometimes we do have to, lower our payments, our prices on different things, especially if those things aren't moving like, you expect them to, or just that, what do I need to do so I can have money coming in? And sometimes, just being more competitive with your competitor allows that to happen. Because a lot of times people look for quality and quantity, but most of the time, a lot of times, if that quality is there, they'll definitely go with the lower price. So just thinking in those terms. And then I want you to stop and think about what have I learned during this past year? When we didn't know if we were going to open, we didn't know if anything, we just were confused. Document the lessons that you've learned from reopening your business. Because I'll tell you, there are differences. There are a lot of different things that have happened, and you may not have had an opportunity to write them down. So at this time, I'd love to see you just sit down and say, you know what, since I reopened, this is different. And, and it'll give you some mental notes so that you can know how to proceed, right? You may kind of have to look at, your business continuity plan. You don't want to go through another disaster, but we can never tell when that might happen. And so just making sure these lessons that you've learned may help you in the next time that there's an emergency or some type. It may give you some insight. Also, make sure you, again, go back and review that you have adequate insurance coverage, making sure that if there's a shutdown that you'll still be paid if you have to shut down for X amount of hours. And they do have insurance for that nowadays. I don't think they did before the pandemic, and maybe they did, but mostly people found out about it after the pandemic. So that's something to look at too. I know I went through this, so I want to take questions and kind of see if there are any. But my information is right here on the screen if you need to contact me later. And but I think right now, if there's any questions that you would like to ask, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions in the room or on our Facebook page.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna think that was good. And if anyone have any questions, they can always come back to me and ask me later.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank DoSpace for allowing us to give this presentation today, and I hope it helped some of those who are really right now struggling and trying to figure out how to make it after they've reopened and things are just not back in place like they need to be. And don't worry, almost everyone business I've talked to are having some of the same issues. So if you need help, there are resources. Nebraska Enterprise Fund, a SCORE, the Nebraska Business Development Center, SBA, there's resources. So use your resources. And thank you again for attending. We really appreciate it. Thanks, DoSpace.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.